ties of friendship between my country and Indonesia, and a long record of cooperation in many forms between our two countries, my government nevertheless regrets that once again this matter has been placed on the agenda of this session of the General Assembly. Our proper regard for the procedures of the United Nations and for the weight which must be attached to all positions expressed here must lead, however, to a frank examination of every item which is presented to the General Assembly. This I propose to make in the present case on behalf of Australia. It is our conviction, sir, that the item has no real place among the many important matters which have engaged the attention of the Assembly during this session. And it is our belief that in the form in which the item is presented, unless great care is taken to discern what precisely is the necessary intent of the proposed resolution which has been tabled, the members of the United Nations could easily misapprehend or be misled as to the real nature of the claim made or the real consequences of the proposed resolution were it adopted. Sir, there is a resolution before the committee calling in effect for negotiations under the auspices of the United Nations on what is called the question of West New Guinea. This, on the face of it, might seem, that's the resolution, might seem unexceptionable to some delegations. It's to be noticed, however, that the nature of the claim is not specifically recited in the resolution. But there can be no question in the minds of the members of the committee who heard the statement of the distinguished Indonesian representative here that the claim is for the transfer of sovereignty over the territory of New Guinea from the government of the Netherlands to the government of Indonesia. During the course of his speech, my friend, the distinguished representative of Indonesia, referred in words mildly intended to convey his surprise at the direct interest which Australia takes in this present matter. I do not really think he has any cause for surprise. It is well that I should restate to the committee what I said in 1954. For Australia has a cardinal interest in the future of New Guinea, in the whole of the area of New Guinea. Sir, no nation placed as Australia is could be other than profoundly concerned in the issue which presently is before us. One glance at the map, circulated in the speech of the representative of the Netherlands, surely would alone confirm that. In 1954, speaking on this, I said, sir, 1954 was the last occasion when there was any substantive discussion on this issue. And what I said then, I wish to repeat with the permission of the committee now, sir. I said, but New Guinea cannot be regarded apart from its geographical context. At the beginning of my speech, I spoke of Australian interest in the island. I should like now to re-emphasize that interest. From the point of view of the Australian delegation, the vital issue of this whole debate is the bare fact that it concerns New Guinea. Events in any part of the world are viewed with interest in Australia. But when the island of New Guinea is mentioned in an international context, then that interest becomes of an intense nature, which I hope will be fully comprehended by members of this committee. New Guinea has been shown to represent the very key to Australia's defence. And so, Mr. Chairman, in the light of this sentiment, Australia can never stand idly by when a question which affects so closely the future of the island of New Guinea comes before the United Nations. We feel that the destiny of Australia is closely bound up with this island which stands so close to us. And believing this as we do, Mr. Chairman, we cannot view with anything but the utmost gravity the plea which has been brought before this committee, no matter what the words used to wrap up the plea, that the United Nations should endorse the claim that the sovereignty of the western part of this island should be transferred. That's what I said in 1954, sir. And that, Mr. Chairman, remains the unaltered view not only of the Australian government, It's the view of the vast majority of the Australian people. Let me conclude on a somewhat personal note, sir. My colleague, the distinguished representative for Indonesia, and I represent countries that have deep ties of friendship and understanding. Australia was one of the countries that in the formative days of the Republic of Indonesia played a direct, sympathetic, and not inconsiderable part in securing its independence. He and I have been charged with the duty of presenting to this important committee the respective, and I must say from our point of view, the irreconcilable position of our countries. He in support of the Indonesian claim, I in rejection of it. I can only hope that in the course of time the Republic of Indonesia will abandon what we, for the reasons which have been given, regard as an utterly insupportable claim, and so remove the only cause of difference which mars the harmonious, friendly relations which exist between us. But be that as it may, I am sure he will understand that the Government of Australia, in putting before the committee through me the views it has, does so not in any other spirit than that which guides one nation, friendly to another, when it speaks and must speak unequivocally and in complete frankness upon an issue which I hope he and his people will come to understand is of profound and abiding significance and importance to the people of my country. Mr. Chairman, I reserve the right to speak further if it becomes necessary, and I thank you.
We believe that countries directly concerned should promptly proceed to negotiate for a peaceful solution in a constructive spirit and with reason. The United Nations should therefore endeavor to facilitate the resumption of negotiations. If the good offices of the United Nations is accepted by the two parties concerned, we believe that such action would be a very constructive step for this organization to take. Finally, Mr. Chairman, I conclude my remarks by stating that my delegation will go along with any proposal which will facilitate the resumption of negotiations with a view to a satisfactory solution of this question. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.